What better time to make fruit desserts than the middle of summer? And what better baker to bake them with than Rose Levy Beranbaum? She's the award-winning author of the Cake Bible, the Pie and Pastry Bible, and the Bread Bible. And today she's brought us some summer fruit desserts that are just going to taste like the essence of summer.
And my favorite, actually, summer dessert is strawberry shortcake. But I like especially the shortcake made as biscuits. You know, there are two types of shortcakes.
Let's
one
get
are biscuits,
to it.
One are cakes. So you can see the difference in the flours here. This is Wondra, and this is all-purpose bleached.
Now explain to us what Wondra is.
Wondra is a flour that's very soft and tender, and it's processed in such a way, or it's milled in such a way that it absorbs immediately. So what's going to happen is that it's important to use bleached flour and then cut it with part Wondra or cake flour, and then you get the most tender possible
And you've already
biscuits.
done that with that amount.
Yeah, this has
Great.
both, but I wanted you to see the difference in the consistencies. The Wondra's like powder. This is sugar, and then we have baking powder. And because these are angel biscuits, the reason they're called angel biscuits is because they use yeast. It makes them extra light and feathery. And this is instant yeast, so we can add it immediately.
And you can get that anywhere these days.
Yeah, it goes under a lot of different names, but it's like
Now, would you like the salt or not yet?
No, not yet, because you never want the salt to land right on the yeast. It doesn't like it.
Oh, why is that?
It could kill the yeast. But aside from that, you don't have to
Good
proof
tip.
the yeast with instant. You just
It's ready for you to go.
Thank you. Okay, we start stirring, and as soon as it's mixed in, then we can just add the salt. It'll be pretty flat without the salt.
Well, now we use the balloon whisk, and you're using this as, it's aerating your ingredients,
It's
right?
not for aerating, because dry ingredients will never aerate until you put liquid in. It's simply stirring it in evenly, so it mixes in evenly and you don't have pockets of baking powder in one spot. Another secret to great biscuits is hard-boiled egg yolk that we add to it.
Hard-boiled already.
And you put it through a sieve. This is the way, you know how the salad, when they call it mimosa, because the egg the egg yolk looks like mimosa, the flour.
And you're just
press it through the
pushing it
sieve,
through.
and this is going to get added to the dry ingredients. So it becomes so velvety on your tongue. You know, when it bakes, you still have the same exact consistency. See how fine that is?
And we can just scrape that off the bottom. Oh, look at that. It is so light and fluffy. And so that light and fluffy aspect is going to translate to the baked biscuits.
Exactly, and it will give it a more golden color. So, you know, we'll just assume that we've done most of it now.
And these go right in?
2 egg yolks, yep, and we'll put it right in with the dry ingredients. I'll tilt it back for you. Oh,
We got the splash shield. It's working just fine.
And now that all the dry ingredients are mixed together, we add the butter in cold cubes. I cut it, then I put it back in the refrigerator so it stays firm. But now we're going to have to switch to the flat beater.
Okay.
We're only using the splash shield because when we start adding the cream, it might jump out a little.
So do you want to turn it on as we add?
First, just add all the butter.
Oh,
and
add
then-
all at
yeah.
once? Mm-hmm. Easy. We like easy. Easy steps. There we
Really,
go.
biscuits are easy. And these biscuits are going to rise because they have the yeast, so they have to sit for an hour and a half at room temperature.
What are we looking for at this stage?
We're waiting for it to get crumbly like horsemeal.
And it's coming together pretty quickly. And this is
Still a
why...
few little lumps, but you know, if it's just soft, it's just going to absorb into the flour, and then you won't have any rise. You have to develop a little bit of the protein in the flour in order to get it to rise nicely. I think we're there.
does that
There are a
look?
few little coarse spots, but that will be okay. And now we can add the heavy cream, and that's cool also. And of course, I like doing a mixture of heavy cream and buttermilk. I can never make up my mind if I want buttermilk or heavy cream.
So you do half
So I
and half?
decided to do half and half. Because the buttermilk gives it a slight tang, but the heavy cream has a kind of flowery-like quality.
Now, do we...
Floral. Yeah, turn it off. And let me just see. Yeah, it's almost completely come together. You can do this by hand also if you don't have a stand mixer. Most people do biscuits by hand in the South.
Okay, we can get rid of this. There you go.
Great.
So now, since this is going to have a few rests...
Yeah, now this we will make it into a ball, and then we can leave it in this bowl or scrape it into another bowl.
All right, well, why don't we can take this off.
But you can see now that all the dry ingredients are moistened, and we will let it sit for an hour and a half at room temperature. Especially in the summer, it's usually warmer, so it goes faster.
Now, I have one here.
And it doesn't exactly double, but close to it. It gets puffy, and that's the yeast. You can see it's kind of spongy.
And so this is what we're looking for after an hour.
An hour and a half.
Hour and a
Usually
half.
It takes around that. Cover it with plastic wrap,
Cover it
refrigerate
again.
it, minimum 4 hours, but you can do it 2 days ahead, which is great because if you want biscuits for breakfast instead of strawberry shortcake, you can do it that morning and do it way
So
ahead. And
this is the time to stop and do it overnight.
Exactly.
So after the first rise. Now we have this over here. Now, do you want to you're going to put some of the Wondra down first?
Exactly, because another great thing about Wondra, it's so coarse that instead of being the clumpy and powdery, it's coarse and powdery, and so it doesn't absorb as much. I use it whenever I have to dust the counter. I use it for that.
That's a good tip.
And what you do is you knead it slightly because look, this is slightly stretchy, and if it isn't stretchy at all, you won't get a nice rise out of the biscuit because you have to develop the protein a little bit more.
So just knead it a little bit at this point, and then it's going to rise one more time?
No, now you roll it out.
Now you roll it out.
And if it were getting warm, if it were very warm in the kitchen, for example, you could cover it with plastic wrap, put it in the freezer for 10 minutes or in the refrigerator for an hour. But this is perfect. You can feel it's a little cool. And see those little golden bits?
And look at this dough is so
gorgeous?
workable. Beautiful, satiny, no sticking at all.
You hardly even needed the extra flour. Oops.
Gorgeous.
You know what? I'm rolling this a little too thin, so all I have to do is to push it back up.
And look how forgiving it is. That's fantastic.
I love this dough.